Hi, it's Steve Thomas from workwithstevethomas.com. Um, Now, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the important things in life. And I've been thinking about this in sort of different things, in different ways. And I suppose fundamentally there's probably about three different things that we need to get right in order to be content, to be happy in our lives. And those three things basically, I would say personally, there would be health, wealth, and happiness. And I'll explain why. Obviously, health is very important. We need to eat properly, we need to get the right amount of exercise. We get told this time and time again from various different sources. Problem is, a lot of people just don't seem to have the time to actually do things. They don't seem to have the money to eat the right sorts of food, there's a lot of people living quite an unhealthy lifestyle out there, sort of pretty soon you can just see people on the street sometimes, and you have to begin to wonder what is actually motivating them to live such an unhealthy life. Because to my mind, if you don't look after your health, and you get into into old age or whatever, the quality of your life isn't going to be as good as maybe you want it to be. So that's why I think it's very important to have a good attitude to health and make sure that your health is the best that you can make it to be. I mean, I'm not talking about necessarily being, Olympic superstars or anything like that, but just making sure that you've got a good level of health, something that gives you balance in life, gives you a sort of like a spring in your step, if you like. That's a good start. So that for me is one of the important things. Now, I was talking about eating properly, and very often what people seem to sort of get hung up about is that they can't afford to eat properly. The money they earn from their jobs and so on basically just scrapes by with getting the bare necessities, getting some of the cheaper foods from the stores, some of the convenience store foods maybe even, So they complain that they don't have enough money to actually afford to be able to eat properly, to buy the right stuff. Well, people will argue that they're perhaps not buying the stuff in the right places, and sort of like should be looking at to doing things differently. But a lot of that thinking is really tied down to the money situation that they find themselves in. They run out of money far too quickly. They get paid, and they run out of money fairly quickly, certainly before the end of the month. So, when we're talking about health again, if you've got worries about money, that is playing on your mind. That's inducing a sort of mental health issue as well, because you're worrying about stuff. You start fretting about stuff, and it's not something that really will make you kind of sleep well at night. And if you don't sleep well at night, you're up all night. You think, how do I pay this bill? How do I pay that bill? So money becomes a part of the equation. So that starts becoming the wealth bit. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily people going off to make massive wealth as the sole thing about wealth. Wealth is a big broad subject. Now, I personally think also what wealth has got to do with is your circle of influence, your friends, the people you touch, and as you develop as a person, as you sort of acquire new skills, as you help other people along the way to their journey to success and so on, you're kind of touching a lot of people in ways that you've got no idea how you're impacting on them, but that makes you a richer person. That makes you a more wealthy person in my book. If you could stand on stage and relate your story, I mean, most people think, I couldn't do that right now, but you haven't actually developed, you haven't evolved as such to put yourself in a situation. But when you do find yourself in a situation where you can stand on stage in front of thousands of people, tell a story, and that inspires hundreds of people in the audience to go off and do their best. Now that is a great thing to do, because your wealth kind of goes up because people have got this debt of gratitude, or that feeling of gratitude, which they kind of send your way. And it's like this law of reciprocity that basically you've given out something, but you're going to get back in abundance. So that is all part of the wealth picture as far as I'm concerned. And this all kind of leads to the final point about happiness. So we've had health, you've got good health, you've got a good mental sort of view on things. You've got sort of plenty of money coming in. You're being abundant with your care and drawing in of friends and sort of helping people. So you've got the wealth element sorted out. And that kind of begins to sort of move into the happiness bit, because if you can get those things all sorted out in your mind, you become far more content with things. You're looking around, you're helping other people to achieve what they get, having enough money so you don't have to worry about stuff, being able to help other people that you want to help, charities and things like that. A lot of people are motivated by sort of going out to sort of Indian villages and creating schools and things like that. All those sorts of things will lead to the ultimate goal of happiness in life. Now, when you look around, how many unhappy people do you see? People commuting to work, to hold down the job, to fight against the crowd, to beat the, sort of beat the train's deadline and things like that. I used to work in London and commute to work every single day. We'd be squeezed on a packed commuter train. And you get out the other end, and there's all people sort of charging away, bashing into each other. It was like a scrum, and it's just basically everybody's looking so grim and so, and it's really, really horrible. And at the moment the weather's not that good, so a lot of people are sort of even more agitated and angry. And you have to wonder if they're really, really happy. They hate doing the job, they're stuck in the job. And all the time the job starts, the conditions of the job start changing. I mean, I was listening to somebody the other day, and he was talking about somebody in his work who's approaching retirement age, got told to, reduce the amount of hours that, he was working, so he could get used to to living off a lower pay packet. Doesn't sound quite right, does it? I know other people who've got pensions, and they were looking, again, they're just about knocking on the door of retirement. And then they changed the pension plan from being a final year salary plan, which was quite popular in the UK. Those have all been changed by and large to a worse off plan. So that person has got to live off a much, much reduced income than they were planning for. Not a lot you can do about it when you're just about to retire. People in their 30s, the prospect for them is to work till they're 70. It's just it's just baffling, that people are willingly, they just don't have a choice, but they're kind of walking along almost blind into this future where they're so going to be working all their lives right up until the point where they should be putting their feet up, retiring, doing whatever they want to do. They're going to be working till beyond their 70 because they simply cannot afford to retire. And I don't believe that that's going to make people happy. It's going to make people more stressed. It's going to make people more, probably there's going to be more heart attacks and things like that. It's just mind blowing. So promoting happiness, having a life that you've actually, sort of been able to do things with, to set up a kind of a plan B, if you like joining a business like the Empower Network, maybe. Setting up that plan B to actually carry you forward into your life, into your later life, should I say. To me, that just makes so much sense, and I just am quite astonished at the amount of people who are quite happy putting up with their job, knowing full well that at some point they're going to be really, really struggling with the bills, struggling with the heating. One of the big things in the UK is this thing called fuel poverty. And a lot of people in the wintertime, when it gets really cold, a lot of people in the wintertime, older people in the wintertime, have a choice. Do they eat or do they put the heating on? Now, I don't really want to have that choice. So I've rambled there a little bit, but basically happiness, I think, is having that sort of having your health all sorted out, having your wealth all sorted out in terms of having enough money to allow you to do the things you want to do and to provide for what you want, like food, like heating, the things you want to do, like going travelling, enjoying yourself, spending time with your family, not having to work until you're 70 odd or whatever age that you can actually go because you're tied to this job and a measly pension. I think those are the important things, and that will ultimately give people happiness. But the other thing about happiness is that I think, and I've felt it myself as well, that, sort of like what goes on in your head. There's a sort of like a million and one things whizzing around, there's all different thoughts, and you're thinking this and you're thinking that, and it's a quite common thing that people are rushing around, with this head full of stuff, really, and it's just, people, I think, when I kind of explode, because there's so many different thoughts going on. So I just really wanted to leave you with one little thing, because I've been reading this book called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, and it's an interesting book. I had a few difficulties with it because obviously, he's a very religious person, and it crops up all the time in what he says. But there are some fantastic points in this book, and one of the things he was talking about is the fact that, in society today, a lot of people fret and they worry about things, and they panic about things, and they got high anxiety about, money is obviously one of the big things. It's one of the big things that breaks up marriages, for example. But, people worry about an awful lot. And he recommends that, people just take some time and, sit down and let things, let thoughts drift out of their mind, and sort of let the mind settle down. Let the sort of traffic jam of different thoughts, if you like, that are whizzing around in people's minds, just to ebb away, have a bit of calmness, and, just refocus on your life. So he put an exercise in there, and I've been thinking about and doing this over the past few days, and it's kind of like meditation as well. So if you've ever looked at meditation and kind of thought, well, that's a bit weird and stuff like that, so like, it's not. It's basically a way that you can actually, or a few simple exercises that you can actually employ to calm yourself down, to make sure that you have a nice balanced outlook on life, and you're not fretting about stuff, you're not worrying about stuff. You can look at things in a much much more rational way, if you like, and well, I think instead of me talking about it, let's have a go. Yeah, if you're up for it, let's have a go. So here we go. Here's the idea. What I want you to do is, make sure you're sitting down, make sure you're nice and comfortable. That's a good start. Just relax everything. Your feet are on the floor. You can feel you say your feet have you just feel as though they're sort of like floating into the carpet or floating onto the floor. Just, there's no weight and there's no pressure or anything like that. Your legs, any stresses on them, any tight muscles and things, just relax. Just relax. Make it feel as though they're becoming part of the chair. They're all part of one thing. Your arms, your hands and things like that, your shoulders, just relax them. Put them down, relax. Close your eyes and just imagine everything relaxing from your toes to your ankles, to your legs, your knees, up to your thighs, your body, your shoulders, down to your arms, and your head as well. Everything's just relaxed. Nice and calm, nice and relaxed. Now with your eyes closed, just listen to your breathing, the gentle breathing in and out. It's something we never ever think about. It's just one of those instinctive things that we do every day, but just listen to your breathing, in and out, in and out, in and out. Nice and easy. Now you're starting feeling that sort of calmness, that relaxed, that sort of, the muscles are all, beginning to feel nice and calm, nice and, so pretty good. Okay, but there's one thing that's really, if you're like me, there's one thing that's really getting in the way of being totally relaxed, and that's what's going on in your head. When I started doing these exercises, I was kind of thinking all hundreds of things. I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do the other thing, and this is happening, that's happening, I've got to pay this bill, I've got to do that, and it's all going on in my head. It's all whizzing around, and I thought, well, how do I stop this? I want to stop this. I want to focus on doing the exercise. So here's an idea. And I read it in this book as well, so here's an idea. So what I want you to do is, if you imagine your mind as being a stormy sea, you've got really dark black clouds, the rain's lashing down, the sea is churning, it's pounding against the shoreline, there's white spray everywhere, the sea's looking really dark grey and very, very sort of aggressive. It's about the only way to explain it. It's pounding against the shores, it looks really threatening and really treacherous, not a good place to be. The waves are sharp, they're pointing up in the skies, they're crashing down and things, that you think anybody getting swept out on that, you just don't have a chance, so it's very, the noise is just deafening, it's pounding, the wind's blowing. But then you look up in the sky and you start noticing that the grey black clouds have started getting a paler colour. And then there's a little chink in the sort of clouds. You look out at sea, and the sea is basically your mind, you're calming your mind down. So you look out to the sea, and it starts being a little bit less rough. The waves aren't quite so aggressive. They're not pounding against the shoreline like they were. And gradually as you look, the sea becomes calmer and calmer and calmer. And you look up in the sky and the big black clouds are gone. There's all like white fluffy clouds there now. And they're beginning to part, and you can actually see blue sky behind them. And over in the distance there's a shaft of sunlight that comes down and touches the sea. And gradually the clouds start separating and going and disappearing over the horizon and far away. And then you're left with a clear blue sky above you. You look down at the sea and it's gone nice and calm. The waves are rippling. It's like a little swelling motion in the sea. It's nice and backwards and forwards and sort of rippling away. And the sun's out, and the sun is sparkling off the water. There's little diamond shapes. It's almost like little diamonds, shall we say, on the water. As the little rivulets or the little ripples in the water catch the sunlight, and they sort of like flash at you as they're sparkling in the water. It's like little diamonds all over the place. So then you decide to have a walk along the beach. So you kick off your shoes and dip your feet in the water. And the water laps around your feet, and you can feel the cool water invigorating your feet. And you walk along the beach, and it's a glorious day. You can feel the sun and the warmth beating on your cheek. It's nice and warm. And you look at other people. And whereas before they were looking quite haggard and quite sort of worried, if you like, now they're all happy. They've got smiles on their faces, they're laughing, they're talking. Everything all the pressures of life seem to have lifted. Just because the sun came out, the water's calmed, and you're beginning now to feel relaxed. And this is what your mind should be thinking about. You've gone from the really busy motions and the angry sort of ideas and things like that whizzing around your head, and you're just trying to calm down a little bit, stage by stage by stage. Relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. Now start thinking of a favourite place, a place that you really like to go to. What did you do there last time round? Where did you go? Who did you go with? Think of the things, the really moments in your life that really, really, really made a big impact on you. Imagine yourself going back there. Make a plan about when you're going to go back there. Start thinking in your mind, if I plan ahead, I can actually go back there. I'd love to go back there. I'd like to see this and I'd like to do that. Give it a go. Start planning in your mind, being in that place, being back in time where you were, and bring it forward to the future, because you're going to go there again. So, how does that make you feel? Are you happy now? Are you happy about the prospect of doing something that you like doing and can look forward to doing again? It certainly gives me a buzz when I think about it. So, I'd like you to open up your eyes now again. That little exercise, that is such an easy thing. You can probably do it in about 5 minutes or something like that. Or longer. The longer the better, really. But certainly give it a go. See how it might calm your mind down from that raging torrent and sort of like all these hundreds of ideas whizzing around and disrupting your flow of, your pattern things. to calming down, and then you can go away and address things that you want to address step by step, much, much more easily. And I think, there's one of the things that, it's just one final thing I really want to leave you with. And we're talking about sort of wealth earlier on, about sort of building up a kind of a, expanding your circle of influence in the people and your friends and the people you meet on a regular basis. And I think that is really, really important for people's happiness. You can have as much money in the world, you can be the richest person in the world, but to quote Jim Rohn, there's a great sort of great line he came out with, that he'd rather be living in a tent on the beach with somebody he loves rather than being in a big mansion all on his own. And that's quite a good look on wealth, isn't it? You might have all the money in the world, but if you've not got anybody to share it with, well, it's a bit of a sad place, isn't it? Okay then, well, that's all for me for this time round. My name's Steve Thomas, work with stevethomas.com, the website's down below. If you want to jump on board and come along and visit us, please click the link, fill in your details. But what I want to help you do is to achieve those dreams, to help those ambitions that you might have in your life, to change things around. That, if you want to be in a different place rather than stuck in the same place you are at the moment, please get in touch, because I know we can help. Okay, I'll see you later on. Anyway, take care, and it's been great talking to you. Cheers and bye.